returning to worldly matters, I've got a question from Mr. Kaleem Tahir, studying economics at Birmingham University.
Right.
He says, in one of your addresses, whilst dealing with the subject of Western economic system, Hazoor stated that the interest rate is in fact the root cause of inflation.
That's right.
Which is considered to be the biggest enemy by several countries in the light of the havoc it has wreaked in the past to some nations. Yet the above statement is in direct contradiction with the economic theory generally accepted today.
Exactly.
Could Hazoor kindly shed some more light on this issue? And he, as a postscript, during his speech, due to the lack of time, Hazoor was able to elaborate over this topic.
You see, that book which has been published, that covers this subject quite, if not entirely comprehensively, but it speaks of much more than I was able to say in my speech he's referring to. So I think he attended that speech but did not follow that with the book.
So, yes.
So you should study that book. I know what the economists say about it, but I know also that they are wrong, because repeatedly they have been so disappointed by their experimentations with artificially raised high interest and what followed. You know, that became the downfall of Mrs. Thatcher's government. And the Conservatives have not been able to recover from that, forcible treatment of economy. Economies are not forced. No coercion can be applied to economy. You may think that for the time being you have been able to run away with the measures you take to subjugate economy, but you cannot. It's a free system, entirely a government in its own, and it should be dealt with in accordance with the economic laws created by God. And turning to that, the one law which we read in the Quran is that usury is a fallacy. It does not help you increase your capital, only it creates disorders. Accumulation of economic gains in one particular area of the society does not mean that economically you have benefited. Again, attraction of capital of belonging to other countries through interest rates is also a false measure which does not pay in the long end. Again, an economic boost by exploitation of capital to a degree that it begins to attract to transfer the wealth of poorer countries to richer, more capitalized countries is again a measure of, let's say, not deceit on the part of those who employ it, but a measure of fantasy, which does not appear to be a fantasy. They think it's a real thing, and we can continue with it. But on the whole, what is happening is wealth from some areas, first of all within the country, are removed from certain tiers and levels and shifted gradually to higher levels until they become imbalanced. As such, they cannot survive for long. They are bound to tumble down the top-heavy economic system. Then they are given support by one-sided trade with the comparatively poorer countries, so that their blood is transfused into the richer economy. And this is exactly the opposite of what we have in nature. If somebody is dying of anemia, you don't transfer his blood to the one who is bursting with overmuch, red blood corpuscles. Like instead of having a 15 or 16 normal, sometimes they have 20, number of blood corpuscles. I'm just giving a figure which is more than 100%. So this is the economic treatment of the rich capitalist countries. To survive, they have to transfer more anemic blood into a wealthier society which is already, over much swelled in veins and arteries with blood and so on. Now, that is what I have explained in the book, but I'll try to be brief about it. The overall world economy becomes unstable. It's bound to become unstable. And within the country, what happens is that you realize too late that what the interest rates, the benefits which the interest rates brought in the beginning were only fake benefits. They were not real. They were just airy. What was happening was something else which these economists, I don't know why, do not understand. I mean, they're highly organized scientific community, the financial experts, etc., I mean, and they should be able to at least project into the future and see what we are doing to our future and what is happening in the present. What happens in the present with relation to the future is that such a society as is made rich with the help of capital, again enriched with the help of interest, etc., this society is spending in the present what belongs to the future. And it must continue to do that, or ultimately it will tumble down. This is the aspect which I have tried to clarify in that book, and I think I thought I was quite clear about it, but I'll explain it to you now. What happens is, in a society where capital is, capital is drawn from the general norm of the society, ordinary people, general run of the society, into fewer hands through banks. For the benefit, which is very visible and obvious, of employing that capital to develop industry. Right? Now you develop industry, and let's forget the foreign trade relationship for the time being. You develop industry, and to bring the prices low and to meet the challenges of the competition, you have to adopt certain measures by attracting people's attention and having them more mindful, more conscious of that artificial luxury which is created by the industry. Now, when I say artificial industry, that has to be explained. I know I have not made myself clear, but give me a few minutes and I'll be all right. We can live with enough food, healthy food, decent clothes, decent living. But as these societies, which are supported by capitalism, proceed further, industry cannot survive on just producing the basic needs. It has to produce something more and extra and special to make the life more enjoyable and easier. So they go into the extras of life, which are not the essentials. And gradually, the extras consume more of your produce and income than the mere basic necessities.
Yes.
You see, now if you break down you break up the budget of an ordinary poor English family, you'll be surprised how unreal that budget has become. Because it's not spent on food and comfortable living anymore. It's not spent on holding the whole family together. It is spent on wine, drinking, and having luxurious televisions, etc., and access to such music is becoming very costly nowadays. So these extra expenses are a necessity for the industry to survive and a necessity has become an artificial necessity, artificially created necessity of the people to belong to the same age. They must strive hard to belong to that age. Now, how can they support such costly industry and such costly way of life? Not with the income they earn during a certain period of time. So they have to borrow from the banks again. They have to borrow and get the reward of the labor they have not yet put in. So they transfer their future into present. And it goes on unnoticed for a while, until this is an artificial way of life, until the banks, the demand of the banks goes on rising, and there is a stage reached where they cannot lend anymore because they are afraid of total loss of the capital. And then the houses are confiscated and things are proscribed, and a chaos develops in the society whereby everybody feels uncertain. Those who have borrowed and those who have lent, both feel very uneasy about things. Then drastic measures again are taken by the governments. First, measures to boost the economy artificially, and then to keep the economy stable and save it from tottering down or tumbling down. And this is when the crisis begins. And the basic cause always remains to be the capitalism. Such countries must increase their trade with the third world, or third world comparatively poorer countries.
I think this is very true with the American cigarette industry, whereas the government in America are talking of prescribing smoking, as they have done in a large extent.
Yes.
And so the American tobacco magnates are very worried about where their income's going to come from. And so now they're diverting their production to third world countries, and they're using the same techniques for selling those products which have been outlawed in Western nations to hook people and catch people, because there are no restrictions. They're using those same methods to hook people.
The same they are doing to Russia, which is the second world country now. It was the first world country before. And China, everywhere. The American cigarettes are so much in demand in USSR.
It's that brand name again, Marlboros and things like that.
And you know, this is what they do to the pollution. The same policy, the same attitude, the same selfishness is displayed in relation to their attempts to solve their problems, whatever they are. You know, the Americans have solved the problem of increasing pollution by raising the height of chimneys to so many 100 feet that they unload the smoke or the filth into a strata of atmosphere where there are strong streams of winds carrying them across America and unloading them into Africa or some other third world country.
Yeah. This is true in Britain, where we've had very tall chimneys. One of the reasons why our pollution has got better, because all of these nitrous fumes were wafted over to the forests of Sweden, who are now suffering from acid rain.
More so in Norway. Yeah. That is why, you know, the poor queen was treated with
contempt.
You know, not content, but I mean, says with bad egg treatment was meted out to her. This is the treatment of the poor people, comparatively poor people, with which they try to cure the ills of comparatively healthier society. You know, bad eggs were thrown on the poor queen so much. She was just a symbol. She didn't deserve that. Bad eggs should have been thrown at the system of usury, at that system which has created that utter selfishness, where selfishness becomes a necessity. You know, this is the problem. Selfishness is no longer a choice with you.